just that I'm so tired, and I don't know how to run a federal agency, and I've been a doctor. I was a doctor. I had my hands, they're gifted. But I've never run a federal agency before. And what the heck's going on, everybody? Howdy. This is Roy. I'm a day late and probably a couple dollars short, but we're going to go anyway with another day. Hello, Bobby and Wendy and Abby. So many E's. Hopefully people will stick around and watch some of the show tonight. I put up an outline so you can tell what's going to go on a little bit. So, Ben Carson looks like he's going to be nominated. I don't know if you guys remember, they were talking about this a couple weeks ago, and Carson came out and then said, I don't have any experience or interest or ability to run a federal agency. So HUD, Housing and Urban Development, I looked it up today. Were it to be a corporation, it would be right outside of the Fortune 50. It has a budget of roughly, I think it was $50 billion a year. A lot of that housing and urban development is to help pay for rental assistance and other things to make sure that Americans aren't homeless. Housing, urban development. So we actually have a federal agency. Because I don't know, there's this whole thing where people just have no idea like how bare bones the Constitution actually is, and then to actually run a country. I kind of alluded to this a little bit before about like kind of the federal bureaucracy, but this is a federal agency. Again, this is just one of many, but it has a $50 billion a year budget to do various things that we have decided over the years that the government needed to do. So now we're going to see a lot of these things break down. And see what happens when that happens. The fact that they're going to be falling apart, we'll see. And how this happens is going to be a little bit slower coming out. Because, again, you have to understand we're walking into a wonderful economy. So gutting it from underneath is going to take a little while before people realize exactly how bad that has happened. So the other thing I wanted to talk about tonight was, our artwork. It's Christmas, so we got the wonderful artwork up there. It says "Merry Christmas" from the Taylor family. Good stuff on that. But so the other thing to move on is Taiwan and the fact that Trump took the call from the president of Taiwan. So this is still coming out in the last few days, and it has been an interesting news story to watch. It looks like this was a planned move that was part of, essentially, I think it is a major reset of U.S. policy, and I think China is just starting to realize that. They had a tepid response this last weekend, but then the People's Daily, I guess, had an editorial today that came out, and it looks like this is an actual pretty serious change of U.S. policy towards China. He is going to try and be tougher. He had a series of tweets also this morning talking about a number of other issues kind of that we can have with China, like he mentioned the South China Sea and also the currency manipulation. The South China Sea it's something of a legitimate issue. This is part of why we were doing the TPP. But the currency manipulation is not actually currently something that the IMF feels that China is doing. This was mentioned in a couple articles talking about this. So it's actually the accusation here ends up being one of those empty ones. The idea, I think China's trying to figure out is to what degree this guy is just full of crap and trying to project strength for a negotiating position. So we shall see how that works. But the whole change is going to be a pretty sea change. We'll see how it's going to go over the next little bit. There was, like I said, the People's Daily editorial today was a little bit more forceful in the notion of that what is bad for our relationship is actually bad for the U.S. And there's a great deal of intertwinity between our economies. So we're going to see. The guess is, so I think the Bannon strategy generally for this is to try and renegotiate these deals and do so delicately, but ultimately delicately, right? You're going to start out pretty forcefully and then try and just come in and finesse it. I don't know how well that's going to work. Because, and this is one of the things I posted about earlier today, and this will be the last bit on this Taiwan thing, is the North Korea situation. Because we've already got all the sanctions we could possibly have on North Korea. We don't have any interaction with them. A lot of the world doesn't. Most of their economy, the people who have leverage over them, is China. And so to the degree that we start negotiating other things, then all of a sudden we start having other problems that we were, I thought that was taken care of. No, it wasn't. That was part of the peace that we had negotiated. And also I didn't mention this earlier. I should have started talking about this. The whole situation with Taiwan is a lot more, I think, delicate, at least from the policy standpoint. And I've written about this a lot before. We have us and China have kind of conflicting, both us for, I don't know if my video is dead or still going, I can't tell. It seems like it had crashed. Let me see if it's working up here. You have to pause, pardon me. Oh, is that what was going on? Oh, Lord. I don't even know if I'm still on. Seems like it crashed. I don't know. Alright. I'm trying to... Is it working? So we've got technical difficulties on this. Alright, we're going to finish this.